Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Wherever you may be across the world, across the land, across the country, I hope all of you are having fantastic Wednesdays. We got a lot to get to. Let me just go ahead and give you the rundown. The U.S. women's soccer team makes more than the men. LeBron, Taco Tuesday. Evidently, LeBron can pretend to be Mexican. Night one Democratic debates. What did we think? Bigfoot might have been spotted at Mammoth Caves camping sites, and Mario Lopez, AC Slater, in the middle of a scandal surrounding his opinion of transgender children. 3-year-olds, to be specific. We got a lot to get to, but I'm going to dive right in off the top. I think this is a big story. For months, we heard the U.S. women, the players, their fans, their allies in the media endorse the idea that they were underpaid compared to the men. There was a big storyline. Everybody talked about it. Everybody covered it. Oh my God, the U.S. women are underpaid. And then earlier this week, I think it was Monday night, the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation finally released the financially detailed audits for the last decade dealing with the pay of U.S. women and U.S. men by the United States Soccer Federation. And stop me if you are going to be stunned by this, but it turns out the women have been making a lot more than the men. If anything, the men are underpaid. Now, I got some data points for you here. These are all facts according to the U.S. Soccer Federation. The U.S. women were paid $34.1 million. The U.S. men over the last decade, according to the U.S. Soccer Federation, were paid $26.4 million. That's despite the fact that the U.S. men over the last decade have produced $185.7 million in total revenue during their games, while the women have posted $101.3 million. The average men's soccer game during the last decade has produced $972,000 in revenue for U.S. soccer. The average women's game has produced $425,000. So men's soccer matches are worth over twice to the U.S. Soccer Federation what women's soccer matches are worth, and men produced 65% of the overall revenue of U.S. soccer compared to 35% for the women. Yet the women received 56.4% of all pay, and the men received 43.6% of the revenue. So, I want you to think about this for a minute. The men produce 2 out of every $3 nearly that the U.S. Soccer Federation receives, and women receive substantially more pay despite the fact that they produce insanely much lower of a revenue. That discrepancy means women are being paid more for producing less than the men, and the real irony here becomes, when you look at the factual data, the men are actually being underpaid, and they need to burst through that glass ceiling of underpayment and actually be paid more fairly based on the value of their work than the women are. Insane plot twist here, but the U.S. men's soccer team, after all the social justice warrioring, after all of the women complaining, after all of the media carrying their water, the men are actually the ones who are being discriminated against based upon their sex. The men are underpaid, not the women. Now, this is pretty interesting in and of itself because both of these teams collectively bargain for their own deals with U.S. soccer. In other words, the men don't collectively bargain alongside of the women. The men's soccer team negotiates and the women's soccer team negotiates. And the U.S. women's soccer team tried to confuse people by putting out data, and they said, well, wait. The women are being paid to play by U.S. Soccer in the National Women's Soccer League, or whatever it's called, the NWSL. But that's because there isn't enough fan support to otherwise pay them salaries. The women elected to be paid by the U.S. Soccer Federation, so they would be full-time employees. They also get health care. They also get sick leave. They also get access to 401ks. The men don't get any of that. So in addition to making more money than the men, they actually end up getting more opportunities outside of revenue as well. And the ultimate irony here is that the U.S. women's soccer group lost $27.5 million over the last decade. I want to repeat that again. The U.S. women's soccer group lost $27.5 million. The only reason the women are getting paid what they are is because men's soccer players are subsidizing their salaries. The men produce 65% of the revenue, and they only receive 43.6% of the overall money being paid to soccer players by the federation in this country. The women produce 35% of the revenue, and they receive 56.4% of the overall revenue. Again, I want to repeat that. The women produce 35% of the money that goes to U.S. soccer. Over the last decade, they have lost $27.5 million. And the only way that the women are able to make money here is because the men whose games actually make money subsidize their salaries. In fact, the men subsidize the women's salaries so much in soccer that the women are receiving way more. They produce 35% of the revenue, and they get 56.4% of the pay. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. How many outraged people in sports media would be covering this story right now if the women produced 65% of the revenue and the men were receiving 56% of the money? There would be riots in the sports media streets over that unfairness. Ultimately, I feel bad for the U.S. men's soccer team because they are underpaid. The women are overpaid relative to the revenue that they produce. These are all facts. I tweeted them out. You can search them out yourself. I wrote about it at Outkick, but I want to hear you and make the argument direct to you. This is important to me because, let me explain why. In modern society, we can have all sorts of different opinions about all sorts of different issues. I don't expect for you to agree with me when it comes to every flashpoint issue that exists in the country. But what I do think is important is it's important that we agree on a common level of facts. These are all facts that I just gave you. You can feel that U.S. men and women's soccer teams are still underpaid. You can feel a variety of opinions, but the facts are audited numbers matter here, and facts matter. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about your narrative. I don't care about your agenda. I don't care about your opinions. Ultimately, smart opinions should be predicated on facts. And we have to have a common foundation of facts. And in this country right now, we very often are ending up in a situation where many people are conflating, confusing, not understanding the difference between a fact and an opinion. A fact is that at 32 degrees, water freezes. That is an immutable scientific fact. At 32 degrees, water freezes. How you should drive when there's ice on the road can be your opinion, right? I can't believe that I have to say this, but it matters in a big way in sports because I see politics taking over in the world of sports and people won't agree on basic facts. A basic fact is Michael Jordan has 6 NBA championships. Okay? If I came on and I was making an argument about LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, and I said that Michael Jordan had 12 NBA championships and LeBron James had just 1, that would be a factual error. My opinion about who's better between LeBron James and Michael Jordan, if I accurately cite the data behind their performances, is that just that, an opinion. You can agree or disagree with that, but we have to have a commonality of facts. And here, these facts, watch how quickly they're going to be ignored. The same people in sports media who were beating the drum of how much women needed to be paid and how unfair their payment was and how unbelievable it was that the men made more than them, all of that will completely disappear now. It will completely disappear. I have seen this happen so often in the world of sports media where I make a living. Big argument. Everybody wants their narrative to be confirmed. The facts come out which challenge that narrative. Boom, the story disappears. Whether it was Michael Bennett and the harassment by the Las Vegas police, they release 120 different versions of this incident from their cameras, disappears. Story disappears when it comes out that Michael Bennett made up the racist allegation. LeBron James graffiti, racist graffiti on his gate outside of his home, disappears when it emerges that there is no evidence it actually happened. This happens all the time. These facts matter. The U.S. women are not underpaid. They are overpaid relative to the revenue they produce, and the men are actually underpaid. All right, this is a big, interesting story to me. Maybe we can interject for the video that we'll share with the larger, clipped art. LeBron James is spending a lot of time on social media because he needs a lot of attention. All right, and LeBron James has been bragging about Taco Tuesday in his house for a while. Most recently, in the past couple of weeks, he has decided to brag about Taco Tuesday while doing it in a false Mexican accent. And what is fascinating to me about LeBron James is, first of all, he considers himself to be a social justice warrior. He wears the pin on his shirt, right, the clothespin. He's always talking about how words like posse and owner are offensive to him. He campaigned for Hillary Clinton. He's attacked Donald Trump. He's called him a bum, says he doesn't like him, all these different things. Yet LeBron talked about making Jewish money. It's a Jewish stereotype. And now he's pretending that he's Mexican while it is Taco Tuesday with his accent. And again, we'll put this thing in there. I'm not offended by this. I don't get offended easily. In fact, it's virtually impossible to offend me, all right? But what I do ask for all the time, if you regularly listen to this show, if you read what I write, is I try to apply precedents so that they are evenly applied no matter who is involved, the race, gender, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, whatever it is. I try and treat everybody the exact same. And my question for you is this. If any other racial group, let's say white, Asian, or Hispanic, if they decided they were going to celebrate eating fried chicken or watermelons, which I don't think it's fair that races get defined by foods, right? I don't understand how this happens because I don't know anybody who doesn't love fried chicken and watermelon. But for whatever reason, black people have gotten to take that through the racial food draft, and they own it. And that was a great draft pick by black people because I don't know that you can do better than fried chicken, and I don't know better that you can do better than watermelon, all right? Maybe white people got hamburgers and hot dogs. I don't know. But if an Asian, white, or Hispanic person, all right, but by the way, that's like the Dave Chappelle racial draft. Maybe we need to have a racial food draft to figure out who gets to claim different foods. But if an Asian, white, or Hispanic person who was in professional athletics went on their social media accounts and said they were eating fried chicken or watermelon, and said they were doing it with a black accent, right? While they were trying to sound black, like LeBron James was trying to sound Mexican, they would get suspended from playing in their leagues. They would not be allowed to have any endorsement dollars anywhere, all right? Why do we have standards of speech which set forth your identity as allowing you to say something or not? Why do we not have the same standards of speech in this country for everyone? Why do we not have equality when it comes to judging what is offensive and what is not offensive? And you can say, well, I don't find it particularly offensive. We took calls on it today. Some people did who were Hispanic, some people did not. But the standard that social justice warriors want to put out there is, if anyone is offended by this, it shouldn't be happening. So if you are LeBron James and you are Mr. Uber Woke, you are Mr. Social Justice Warrior Extraordinaire, does he not have the ability to make that analogy in his head? That what he is doing is, in many ways, offensive under the standards that he has applied to other words and actions. And it's pretty wild to think about how we don't consistently apply the same precedents and standards to everyone, regardless of where they are from, regardless, again, of their race, gender, ethnicity, religion, every other discernible identity politics factor that you want to put in place here. Worth thinking about. Curious, crickets from the media. Imagine the reaction if an Asian and Hispanic person or a white person who is in pro athletics did that, what LeBron James did with tacos, with fried chicken or watermelon, and pretended to be black with their accent. It would be absolute outrage. They would get suspended from playing their sport. They would lose every endorsement standard they have. Why do we not hold everyone to the same standard? And by the way, my standard would be, don't assume the worst. Don't get offended, right? Eddie Garcia on my show said it really eloquently this morning on Outkick. He was like, I wish the standard that we applied was we don't immediately all get offended and end up demanding someone's head in a quest for social media credibility or outrage. It's worth thinking about. Just think about it. Again, to me, it's an intriguing double standard that I think a lot of you, even if you hadn't put it all together, innately recognize. And I think it plays into the illegitimacy of the social justice warrior movement in general. They play favorites. They will give you the benefit of the doubt if you are uber woke like they claim they are, and it's not actually being treated fairly. The precedent in a story like this matters. All right, I watched some of night one of the Democratic debates. It was almost 3 hours. I didn't watch all of it. I thought it was a snooze fest. I thought it was a snooze fest because Marianne Williamson was the most interesting person on the stage, and she was crazy, right? I will say that the moderates in the Democratic Party have started to throw back punches and not allow the far left wing of the party to lose their minds. I am most intrigued to watch tonight to see how Joe Biden does, because he was so awful, so absolutely putrid in the first debate. He didn't know how to respond to Kamala Harris, and I'm curious whether that will be adjusted going into tonight's debate. I'm actually pretty excited to watch. If we get some fireworks, then I will come in and I will do a live reaction show on Periscope and Facebook. If you're going to be watching tonight, starts at 8 Eastern. Didn't think there were any fireworks at all. Right now, there are 5 Democrats who I believe could potentially get the nomination. Those 5, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Mayor Pete, and I'm going to lose it here with the 5th one, Kamala Harris. All right? That's it. those are the only 5 people who could be the Democratic nominee. Everybody else is eliminated, effectively, in terms of being the overall nominee. So what I would like to see is, instead of this crazy 10 and 10 race where you got 20 candidates, I'd like to see all 5 of those on the stage together so that we could start to winnow down the overall debate field and actually see those people going head to head. And I think of those 5, by far the best candidate who could beat Donald Trump is Joe Biden. But Joe Biden needs to perform well tonight. And if he doesn't perform well tonight, that's going to be an ugly sign for him, because I think it means Trump's going to win in 2020, because I think Trump beats the other 4. I really do. And ultimately, while there's all this talk about turnout, and while there's all this talk about how many people are going to vote in 2020, the election is going to be decided in the Big Ten. Next year, next football season, the Big Ten may not be good enough to win a football championship. Who knows? But they will decide who the president of the United States is going to be. Tell me who wins Ohio, who wins Pennsylvania, who wins Michigan, who wins Minnesota, and who wins Wisconsin, and I will tell you who the next president of the United States is going to be. Almost all the other states are already decided. There's going to be a lot of drama. Trump's going to get his 20, and whoever the Democrat is going to get their 20. But those 5 states in the Big Ten I just ran through, and I'm going to keep hitting this beating this like a drum, because I think those 5 Big Ten states, tell me who wins those states, and I will tell you who is going to be the next president. Trump is going to win Florida. Not going to be close, I don't believe. Trump, if you looked and watched the midterm elections, even with all of the interest that there was in trying to send a message to Donald Trump, the Republicans won the Senate seat and they won the governorship in the state of Florida. Trump is going to win Florida. The only state that I think Trump could flip is potentially Minnesota. I think there's a possibility Minnesota flips, maybe Maine. Texas is not going to be blue. Don't lose your mind over all these states that you're going to get sold the idea are going to flip. Trump is going to win every state that he won in 2016, and the question will be whether or not he can do it in the Midwest again. So that is what you need to follow. All right, this is crazy. This is wild to me. Mario Lopez, a.k.a. AC Slater, was the #1 trending topic in America today. Because back in June, on Candace Owens' show, he said that he didn't understand how a 3-year-old should be able to pick its own gender. And in fact, I'm going to read you his exact commentary, because I think this is so insane that this became a controversial discussion. All right? This is what Mario Lopez said on Candace Owens' show. I am trying to understand it myself, and please don't lump me into that whole group. I'm kind of blown away. Look, I'm never one to tell anyone how to parent their kids, obviously, and I think if you come from a place of love, you really can't go wrong with, but at the same time, my God, if you're 3 years old and you're saying you're feeling a certain way, or you think you're a boy or a girl, or whatever the case may be, I just think it's dangerous as a parent to make this determination. Well, okay, then you're going to be a boy or a girl, whatever the case may be. It's sort of alarming, and my gosh, I just think about the repercussions later on. When you're a kid, you don't know anything about sexuality yet. You're just a kid. How is this remotely controversial? How in the world is that opinion remotely controversial? I have 3 boys. They are 11, they are 8, and they are 4. Okay? 11, 8, and 4. When they were 3 years old, I didn't trust them to pick their own meals. I still don't trust them to pick their own meals, because they would eat ice cream and potato chips for every single meal. Okay? They would eat pizza for every single meal. And I'm not saying I blame them, but every parent knows that at 3 years old, your kid has absolutely no ability to make healthy decisions when it comes to what they eat. Why in the world would you let them pick their gender at 3? All right? This is wild to me. The fact that this is considered controversial, there is no way that the parents of America, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, think that a 3-year-old is capable of choosing what gender they want to be, and that you should kowtow to the gender that they choose to be. We don't trust 3-year-olds in my house to pick their meals. And you want me to let them pick their gender? This is insanity. Worst of all, Mario Lopez apologized for that insanely reasonable opinion. He apologized for offending people. Let me say this right now. Never apologize. It's a study I was reading from Cass Sunstein the other day. And Cass Sunstein said, every time you apologize, you weaken yourself. This is something that I think Donald Trump intuitively knows. Once you apologize, the people who agree with you will no longer defend you, and the people who hate you, who are going to hate you no matter what, will go after you because there is blood in the water. I know a little something about this. Remember when I said I loved the First Amendment and boobs on CNN, and everybody wanted me to apologize on the left for offending Brooke Baldwin? You know what I said? To hell with that. I'll never apologize for it. It's true. It's my opinion. Why should you apologize for an opinion? You should apologize for acts, things that you did that directly impact other people. If I am driving down the road and somebody runs in front of me and I hit them, I'll be like, oh my God, I feel so bad about this. I'm sorry. If I am playing baseball in the backyard with my kids and I go to tag one of my kids and I tag him too hard and he falls, I might say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to knock you over. Those are physical acts. Why would I ever apologize for my opinion? It's my opinion. You have your own opinion. This cycle of attack leading to an apology is disastrous for the country. If you disagree with my opinion, combat it. That's the marketplace of ideas. Make your own argument better as to why my argument is wrong. Use your opinions to attack my opinions. And by attack my opinions, I don't mean immediately label whatever those opinions are, racist, sexist, misogynistic, whatever they are. Attack the actual opinion, okay? Mario Lopez did nothing wrong here. The fact that this is trending on Twitter is evidence still of how far and loony Twitter has become. And the real question that I think is a good one is, to what extent do you allow the looniness of social media, whether you're a company, whether you're an individual, whether you're a prominent figure, whether you're a politician, to dictate the decisions that you make? If you are allowing them to do so, you are being insane, because you are talking to a tiny minority of far left-wing America that is not representative of the rest of the world. Okay? Period. That is my opinion. If you disagree with it, deal with it. I don't care. All right, finally. What do we got? A couple of other things. Bigfoot. This is a great story coming out of Kentucky. Man is camping at a campsite at Mammoth Cave. Great cave systems up in Kentucky. Natural cave systems. Hears some noise, gets his gun, goes out walking with his kid, says, I think I saw Bigfoot, tries to shoot and kill Bigfoot. Does not hit anything, but the campsite comes undone. We were close to an unbelievable miracle at Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. We almost got Bigfoot. Was that close, and it didn't end up happening. By the way, Mammoth Cave, great place to visit. I've been in Niagara Falls. Mammoth Cave, more impressive than Niagara Falls. If you have to go to a natural wonder, Mammoth Cave is more impressive than Niagara Falls. A lot of East Coast bias influencing Niagara Falls. Mammoth Cave is more fun. All right, finally, Major League Baseball brawl. How about Amir Garrett going from the pitcher's mound to just throwing himself into the Pittsburgh Pirates? He looked like Jon Snow standing out to face everyone in the Battle of the Bastards. It was fantastic. I loved everything about it. Loved the charge of the Light Brigade there by Amir Garrett, and how incredible it all was. Was a lot of fun indeed. All right, I am Clay Travis. This is Outkick the Show. Appreciate all of you listening. If you like the show, share the segments. I will be back to talk to you maybe tonight after night 2 of the Democratic presidential debates. If not, then I'll be back tomorrow. Love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. Should have a fun show tomorrow on radio and for the rest of the week. And then I'm headed to the beach, boys. Going down to 30A. Got to get more sun, get a perfect tan to come back for season 2 of Lock It In. Love you guys. Kisses. See you tomorrow. Maybe tonight. We'll see. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.